My
Sizzle.
lovely Discord. Oh, I don't want this ad. Get away. Discord ads.
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 Who buys things from ads? They're part of the problem. It's the problem. Look who it is. Should I bring him in?
I can't see who it is.
I know that. The thing is, do we bring people in on BCs? Yes, we do.
Oh.
Right, motherfather.
Well,
How goes it?
It goes. We're just messing around right now. We just got started. We're just kind of playing.
well, I just got the most
Sounds good.
annoying bug I've ever seen on Mac OS. Oh, it's gone. Thank you.
Are you on Big Sur, good sir?
No, this is Catalina, which may be worse. I
Even
don't-
worse.
Yeah. This is, the player was just like flashing, and I thought I was about to have like a seizure, and I was like, I can't do this. But it went away.
Oh.
Hey, Catalina. All right.
Yeah, Catalina's honestly a mess. I found that Big Sur so far, the beta's pretty stable. iOS 14 is pretty good too, compared to other betas that I've used before.
Agreed. iPad is where I'm having the most issues.
Really?
And I can't even like open my Photos app. It just turns into like a sluggish mess. And I was like, well,
Really?
that's reasonable. Yeah, that's really strange, right?
Yeah, that's very odd.
Things. Yep.
The big thing that I've had on Big Sur that's annoying, I found that pretty much everything works fine, but what's really getting me going, I'm mad about it, is messages. Messages is a mess. Like when the if there's a notification that shows up, you click and you type and you click enter to send it, or you click send, the actual button itself just doesn't do anything. It just erases whatever you wrote. It's really annoying.
That is bad. There's also something on like Twitter. I forget exactly how the bug is enabled when you're on iPhone and you're like, I think if you go to like select like an image and then you're like typing, or you go back to type and then like the keyboard just disappears and it's like, oh.
Yes, if you're in like Big Sur, that when you click on messages, it doesn't automatically have your cursor in the typing field, even though the blinky line is there, but it won't actually type. It's such a pain. Yeah. Let me tweet out the link here. Let's see. Is my universal clipboard? Yeah, there it is. I love universal clipboard.
Universal clipboard is...
Oh. It's magic. It's magic.
It is magic, and I'm using a magic keyboard, so it had better be.
Yeah, no, that's the real magic. That's right. I always have to double check to make sure I'm not tweeting out the StreamYard link. That would be a disaster, wouldn't it?
Oh gosh, yeah. That would not be good. Let me just check. Okay, good. Yeah, we're good. I would want to do the same thing.
Luke is already canceled.
Am I already canceled? Oh, no, that's a long hashtag. That's a mouthful.
Very long. You gotta make sure you don't misspell it or anything.
So it's a good hashtag.
Magic Cast, baby.
Magic Cast. I like that.
That's actually not a bad one. It's probably an existing thing. Oh, have you heard back from the other guy? Because I don't think Luke knows about the other Gadget Cast thing.
No, we haven't heard back from him. I don't know what happened.
It's so aggravating.
What happened?
He said he'd come on, and then I was like, "Here's your opportunity," and then he never came.
So it turns out we came up with this. Well, Greg came up with this name because he needed to have as much of his YouTube name in the podcast as possible.
True.
I looked around, or we looked around, and it seemed like it was fine, so we did it. Come to find out a couple weeks into this that there was a Gadget Cast, but they hadn't been live in like 8 years. And then in December, randomly, they dropped an episode and then started talking about us. So I'm like, what? And we kind of laughed about it. We didn't say anything else. And then at some point, not too long ago, Greg found him on Twitter. He's like, we should, and I love this type of thing. I said, we should have him on. We should interview him. He's like, yeah. He tweeted him. It took like 2 or 3 weeks, and the guy finally responded. He's like, yeah, I'd like to come on. And then here we are. They haven't replied. So see what happens.
You hate to see it.
Mr. Ritchie.
I am so glad Travis is here. I thought Greg was trying to get me to podcast behind his back, and it was going to be awkward. And come on early. We can talk before Travis gets here.
Exactly. Because we got Luke Moons over at Miani, Miami.
Never heard that one before.
And then we have Rene Ritchie. It's like Richie Rich, but Richie. I was thinking of fighting me.
This is why we need to cancel Travis. See, you guys should be on my side.
Hey, Brian, nice to see you, buddy. Look, Miami's in the house.
I get so many comments on my videos that are like, I've been watching you for 3 months and I literally just realized that your name isn't Miami. Several comments a day.
That's funny. How you doing, Renee? Hanging in there?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing real good. So now everyone's here. People are starting to come in the chat. If they're late, they're late. That's okay. We can do this good. You ready to do this there, Greggy? Ready to start this thing up?
Yeah, I'm ready if everyone else is.
All right.
I mean, we technically have 2 minutes, but I don't know.
Technically, let's wait 2 minutes. Let me.
Do you need me to record anything on my end?
Nope.
You're good,
that would have been a great idea, but nope.
If you gave Greg 2 files, he would just look at you like wicked side eye.
Awesome. That's how we normally do it, but when we have guests on, we're like, we're not gonna put that on guests.
We make it easy. We got like the roadcasters, and we both have them, and they just record audio. And then, if worse came to worse, we could use StreamYard audio, which we don't want to do, but we got backups on backups on backups.
Son. Last time to shill, gadgetcast.net. Last day to order your hats, which I was just wearing, and your little patches and all that stuff. Gadgetcast.net. You better do it quickly because we're done after this. We're done.
It's over. The show's over. This is the last show.
This is how we're capping it off.
Renee's here to bury us.
All right.
Here to hold the funeral like Steve Jobs did for
With the Undertaker music? That was Steve.
So for those of you who didn't see, can you pull up your screen, Greg? For those who didn't see the thumbnail, maybe have not seen the thumbnail yet, because you got to talk about like how long it took you to do this thumbnail. Like it was.
That's okay. We don't have to talk about the thumbnail.
I watched.
No, I want to hear how long it took you to make that thumbnail.
Cameron wishes he had poster art like this.
Why don't I save that for like the after show real quick? But during the podcast, I don't know if I want to talk about it.
No, I wasn't going to do it on the podcast because I can't see anything. It's audio.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point of the podcast. So
what if it was described video?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it was even though I knew the thumbnail was going to be there for a while, when it showed up in my recommended, it did take me aback a little bit. Yeah. I knew what to expect, but I still was like, oh, didn't expect that to see on my YouTube homepage.
Okay.
Greg has powers that some would consider unnatural.
Yeah. It's funny, Luke. I said the same thing to Travis. I went to go like look at the show today and send like everyone the links. I was like, oh my God, I forgot we made that thumbnail. This is what an awful idea.
He was in like a drunken stupor or something.
It was really late at night, and Travis was just egging me on, and then that's what we came up with. I thought it was good. I think Rene wins the laser battle, though, to be honest. He's got confidence there.
Well, also because you put the laser coming from one of my eyes is under the robot mask.
Right.
So a little bit of a hiccup there.
Well,
bit of a sloppy job, it must be said, Greg.
As I was making it, I was telling Travis, the sloppier we make this, the better, the funnier it is. If the sloppier we make it, so that was
it was on a crappy level.
Really bad. So let's try all the ways we can make this bad.
I mean, because if you commit to it and actually get invested in it, then people are it's even worse for you. It's more embarrassing than it already is.
Yeah,
that's old Apple slang when a meeting went bad, but it still didn't go Ed 209 bad.
All right. All the main people are here, so we can get started. I've seen a lot of names that I know. Where's Drew? Why would we know? Yeah. Can you keep Garg from dropping any balls there, Renee, please?
Yeah. Just catch him.
Just catch them. Yeah.
Got to catch the balls.
I don't think we should put that on our guests.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried to keep you from dropping the ball. It just never works. All right. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Let's do the intro. Now, Renee and Luke, we found something out last episode, so the intro is going to be a little bit truncated. We found out that I forgot that my Epidemic Sound
account,
Jeez and crackers.
I watched that live.
Did your subscription expire?
No, it's just that it's not on this channel. It's on my other channel, so we got a copyright claim on one of them. I don't know how we didn't get it on all of them. I have no idea how not every single episode got one, but just the last one did.
Yeah,
so
that's awkward.
A fan did send us an intro. I requested fans to send us intros, but I really don't know if I want to play in front of Luke and Renee. I would feel
maybe Luke made the intro.
How do you know it wasn't just me and one of my many alter aliases?
This is true, by the way. I still
Let's
got
see,
that
let's
30-second thing from you, man. I'm still waiting.
We got what? Okay, I'm not kidding. We got 3 more intro songs sent to the email before the show. They were sent today.
That's awesome. I love it.
I can't play these all right now. Oh,
no, we can't do that. We have really important.
Wait.
People
this guy has music director.
I just saw that in the chat. I'm so mad about that. I'm so mad about that.
Let's come on the live stream because it's about WWDC. So
yeah, we can talk about that.
Wait, hold on. This guy in his thing literally says classroom management trainer and music director. I gotta hold on. Let's see this real quick.
I haven't heard the music yet. Of course, Greg does this by himself.
Wow.
I like it.
Ooh. Wow, that's got some that's some good vibes.
I like it. I'm sorry. I like it.
I don't want to be mean, but I kind of feel like a Minecraft Let's Play tutorial or something is going to come after that.
That's from Elena MC.
Love it. That's so awesome.
Someone sent us 2. Oh my gosh. This guy, Sir Jarl from Norway. Hold on. Oh.
Baby, don't hurt me.
All right. You know what? Now, I gotta play the one from Will Barwick. Just because.
Okay.
There's one here from O'Shea Jackson, maybe Junior. We're not quite sure.
Some ASMR action going on there.
We're good. Thank you for sending those 2 shows. We'll cover those in the next episode when we don't have 2 very important guests on.
Exactly. Before we never comes back on, and Luke is like, I don't know why I came on.
This is beneath us.
All right, you ready?
You're lying on the floor. There is literally nothing beneath us.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1, record.
Podcast because Travis apparently did not secure the rights for Epidemic Sound for the GadgetCast podcast. Very sloppy on his part, always dropping the ball. My name is Gregory McFadden, joined by said person who dropped the ball, Travis MCP.
Yeah. All right, listen. Enough of this. Let's just move right on. Let's just move on.
Right. We're
all 1 to your 27, by the way.
Well, you know, I'm not keeping count, but someone should keep score and send us a tally of all the times each of us has messed up. But we did not mess up today because we are joined by 2, one very special guest, Rene Ritchie. You know him, you love him. Just the best person ever, the smartest Apple analyst. What is
the best
person call you?
The best person outside New Jersey, I believe, is what you said last time.
Yeah, you know, I like Canoopsy, but I think I'll go out on a limb here and say you're my favorite Canadian. So sorry, Canoopsy, friend of the show.
Take that, Peter McKinnon.
Well, yeah, Peter McKinnon has been on the show, but Peter, if you want to come on the show, you could be my favorite Canadian after that. And we're also joined. I don't know why he was even invited, to be honest with you. Has a channel, if you can call it that. Luke Miani is back on the show.
I don't know why I agreed to this. I guess, all of my other plans, literally every single one of my other plans fell through. That's what it took to get me on here. Every single other plan.
Maybe Greg has compromise on you.
Well, I mean, I'm not at liberty to discuss that here, but yes.
Well, you know, we don't have to discuss anything like that. Actually, no. The last time we had Luke on the show, Luke was an amazing guest, and Luke is actually a huge Rene Ritchie fan. Rene was in the chat the last time, and Rene was like, "I love Luke's channel," and then Luke was like, "Wait, Rene watches my channel?" So this is kind of the GadgetCast. We're bridging
when worlds collide.
Yeah, we just bring together the best types of people, and that's what we're making happen today. We're bringing on 2 very smart Apple analysts, YouTuber creators, people. I need
East
Viper.
Coast, West Coast, North and South. It's all taken care of.
Yeah, we got the whole range.
Yeah, next time we got to get Viper to do like a pre-recorded intro for us, Travis, because he does it better than us.
Well, you got that one guy that left us. Remember that one guy that did the really deep voice? Do we have that still? We got to use that.
Oh yeah, we do have that. That was pretty good.
Piper is always streaming. You can probably at random times just patch him in and he'll do it.
Yeah, he's literally streaming now. No,
he is literally. Yeah, we are competing against the Painfully Honest Tech podcast, so I apologize for that.
Oh.
But anyway, busy last week with Apple WWDC. Everything happened. I know in particular, and I don't know if we have to talk about the show in order. I kind of don't want to because I was most excited about Apple's ambitions to making their own custom silicon chips in the Mac. Rene, what's your opinion on this?
I mean, finally, that silicon team has been driving the industry for the last half decade, if not longer. They're maybe leading it, maybe lapping it at this point, and Intel's been holding them back, not letting. Same thing Steve Jobs said with the PowerPC when they went to Intel. We want to make these Macs that we simply cannot make. We can't put this G5 in this computer for you, and makes him so angry. And now Tim Cook's the same thing. We can't even put out a Mac without all you YouTubers complaining about our thermals. You know how angry that makes me. But they have their own silicon, so it's going to be they're going to be able to make Macs that have the differentiation that iPhones and iPads have, and that's really exciting for anyone, not just who likes Apple, but who likes chipsets and the future of technology.
Yeah, Luke and I were doing a live stream with Noah. If you subscribe to Noah is what I think I took away from that live stream. But Luke, you were also very excited about the possibility, the reality now of Apple making their own chips for the Mac. So,
I think it's been a long time coming. And I think like the perfect example, I just had a video about this. I've got it right here. The 12-inch MacBook. This is the Mac that should have been running on Apple Silicon. It was released before it should have been. These the little Core M processors that they used are terrible. They're just sad. Let's be honest. So that I think is back in 2015 when this thing came out, that was where I started to think, well, that's actually not very far off from an iPad with a laptop form factor instead of a tablet. So that was sort of where I started to think, well, maybe they could actually do this. Maybe they could put iPhone and iPad processors into a Mac. And I think we've all kind of thought that this is where they would start, somewhere low end, somewhere MacBook Air-like, and that it would take a little while to get them up to, the pro levels. But I think we're going to be surprised at how much they have pretty much right out the gate.
Do you remember, Luke, when you would walk through an Apple store holding an iPad Pro and the Core M? I'm never not going to call them Core M Intel. I don't care what you say. And the Core M MacBooks would kind of go, 4 streams of 4K and throw themselves off the shelf.
Yeah, these things, like I'm using it right now. I have the original one. This is the original base model. I got it for a video, and I didn't even remember them being this slow. Yeah. In fairness, the first gens are running on Broadwell chips, so the Skylake and Kaby Lake ones were a little bit better.
Ones. They crippled them just to make the M3.
Yeah, and then in the Kaby Lake ones, they had the audacity to put the Core i5 and i7 branding on them because they were like, oh, well, we think that these processors are now starting to blur the lines between
You're not buying them, so we're just going to lie.
Yeah, exactly. They basically just lied for marketing purposes. But, they're just embarrassing. You can't really do a whole lot on them. An A13 outperforms this already by a large amount. Yeah. It's not even close.
Yeah. Going back to your comment, Luke, on that MacBook it's almost like you said, it's like an iPad for the Mac, and even closer now that we have iPad Pros with USB-C ports, it's literally like the same thing as a one port computer that just runs a different OS and technically a different form factor because it's a clamshell, but even stuff with like the new Magic Keyboard and trackpad, It's interesting to see
a better keyboard.
Yeah, well, a better
this keyboard. I had forgotten how bad because this is the first gen Butterfly. It is like typing on a printed image of a keyboard. It's absolutely horrible. It's horrible.
I like the Butterfly keyboard. I'm not gonna lie.
The later ones are fine, but if you have ever used the 20, this is like pre-2016 MacBook Pro. Even that one was fine, but this one is just there's something about it. It doesn't even have the clickiness. That was the thing. Because like the 2018 19s, they have some tactility. They're kind of clicky, and I honestly don't mind them that much, but this one doesn't even have that. And it's just, the keys
Yeah,
also
it's
like
what are all
wear
these
out over
MacBooks?
time.
All these MacBooks you people are talking about.
So going back, like, do you think now that they actually have like these more power efficient chips, obviously the 12-inch MacBook was very ambitious for what Intel was shipping at the time. Do either of you think that they might try and revisit that form factor, or do you think that's kind of like a lost cause after experimenting with the butterfly keyboard? Could they even fit like a Magic Keyboard into a chassis that thin?
Butterfly's coming back, Greg.
You think so? You think?
I think it is.
Yeah.
But even there is something else that we could kind of keep in mind. The 13-inch MacBook Pro, they really didn't change. I think it's like 0.01 of an inch. It's like 0.1 millimeters thicker or something. I don't remember exactly how different it was, but they were able to put that in without making the entire form factor larger. Now, granted, in a MacBook, you don't have as much space to work with, but the thing that intrigues me a little bit is if you don't have to worry about the drawbacks of these Core M chips. So you probably wouldn't have to worry about the thermals. The Core M's are terrible. The thermals are abysmal. But I mean, an A12Z, just literally copy and paste that into a MacBook
That's
and
okay
you're
because the
fine.
power sucks.
Yeah, and so the other thing is the power efficiency. So you could probably end up like taking some of that internal space away from batteries and not compromise battery life if you used Apple Silicon.
When's the last time a YouTuber had a thumbnail with an iPad Pro and a bunch of fire on it? Never. Doesn't happen.
Exactly. Literally never. But
I
I'm sitting here with my 16-inch, which is much better cooled than the other ones.
Yeah.
And I'm currently sitting at 75 degrees Celsius.
And Apple will run those at TDP Max because they don't care. It's like that's what Intel gave us. That we're going to run it at.
And they'll run it up to 80 degrees before they kick the fans in because they don't want to make any noise.
Yeah, so you're just sitting there, and all of a sudden it's like, and you have to deal with that.
That's the worst.
Yeah,
that's the worst. They just go from 0 to 60. Yeah,
yeah. I saw you tweet that. You just press the Siri button to get that voice.
Watch it suffer. Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. Before like the rumors came out, this was even like, is Apple really going to do this? Go through all the pain points, because we've dealt with a couple of years where I think a lot of people who use the Mac were kind of worried, kind of dealing with these lackluster updates coming to the computers, and people were even questioning, like, is Apple going to even pursue the Mac? Is it a big enough business for them? Are they just going to try and transition everyone over to the iPad? And, Apple would get on stage every once in a while and go, "What are you talking about? We love the Mac. We're committed to the Mac." But I think in terms of the hardware and the software updates, we really weren't seeing that commitment. Mm-hmm. But after this, there's almost no doubt to actually engineer these chips, put them into the Mac, engineer new software for it. It's a huge commitment to do all these changes that they're doing with their custom chips and Mac OS Big Sur. I never get used to saying that. So
say it like you mean it, Greg.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Big Sur. I lost my point now. It just threw me off.
They care about the Mac again.
They care about the Mac, and they're. It was interesting to see the Mac get that much billing at WWDC, where normally it's like the shortest. It's one of the shorter parts of the presentation, maybe minus tvOS, right? Like that kind of gets. It wasn't even mentioned this year, so that's how much they're updating it. Although we did get 4K YouTube. Travis hasn't said anything, so. I feel like
the date that's there with their geek boyfriend talking to other geek boyfriends, and they're just like, be cute. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just gonna be cute in the corner. Don't worry about me.
Well, Travis, like, come on, Travis. What do you think about Apple making their own processors for the Mac?
I think what I'm really interested in seeing, so the obvious guess is it's going to be lower power consumption, right? Which means potentially longer battery life. That's exciting, at least on laptops. Desktops, obviously, you're going to want to get that TDP up. You're going to want to get as much power through it as you can to get as much. Because we're seeing these geek bench scores we probably shouldn't be seeing that paint an interesting picture that it is powerful, but not quite as powerful as maybe we thought.
Well, they ran Geekbench on Rosetta and then just put up the numbers without explaining anything. And people are like, "Whoa, what is?"
Yeah, people were kind of bummed because it was only scoring about the same as like the i3 Mac Mini and the i3 MacBook Air, and they're like, "That's all they got."
It's better than the Surface X.
You're still running through this better than the Surface X. You're running through translation. You're only utilizing the 4 performance cores, not the efficiency cores, and an A12Z is a 2-year-old processor.
And it's not a high binned one either, because the high binned ones go into the iPad Pros.
Exactly. It's definitely not going to be hitting peak performance even for an A12Z.
Yeah, that thing that was Apple Insider that got the Mac Mini start running all like these benchmarks.
Well, it's not just that. Like, I think people don't realize that the minute you run a Geekbench benchmark, it gets sucked up to the cloud. Like, unless you turn it off or do something, it is like the minute. That's how you get reviewers every time. They're like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, crap."
Yeah. And Apple specifically said in their like little NDA, hey, don't run any benchmarks or take any photos or even like mention it. And man, I guess that went out the window. I think the Apple Insider video got taken down though. So
I think they took it down in the article.
They took it down. Like I don't want to deal with Apple lawyers, so they can do all that to their heart's content. But you're right about that. And that's one I did a video on this discussing maybe some of the shortfalls of Apple switching over to their own processors. And obviously, if you watch the interview with Craig and John Gruber of Daring Fireball, Craig basically gets up there and goes, listen, we put the A12Z in there. We want to show you what we can do when we're not even trying. So don't expect the A12Z to actually ship in any of the Macs.
He actually flexed, right? Like you could see him on the side of
the
His hair was blown in the wind.
Do you think with like if they find the developer who gave Apple Insider that dev unit, they're just going to go up to him and go, okay, you're done. Goodbye. You can go
there's
make
no way
OS
that guy's
apps now.
Yeah, that guy's toast.
Super toast. Real quick, I know that we're on some WWD stuff, but there's a lot of talk today, a lot of talk in videos and such about the iPhone 12 not shipping with a power adapter. And it seems to be like the new controversy today is, hey, they're not going to ship it. Some people are like, who cares? I got 27 of them. Other people are like, well, just because you're a tech tuber and you have 27 of them doesn't mean everyone has 27 of them. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that and see what you guys think. Luke, why don't you start and then Rene hit us up with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm conflicted. I personally, obviously, I have a bunch of chargers because I'm a YouTuber, but most of the people I know do have chargers. Either, regardless of what phone you're upgrading from, most people have a charger. The question is, most people don't have a fast charger. That's the big thing. Most people have their iPhone 6 5-watt brick. And then if they're going to trade up, they're not going to be able to take advantage of fast charging. So on that front, I do think it's problematic. There is also the e-waste side of it, where it's something like 300,000 tons of e-waste come from the chargers that ship in people's phone boxes that they don't use because they already have one. So I'm not like all up in arms about it, because I think the number of people that aren't going to have any sort of USB charger is going to be pretty slim. But I think it is another sort of nickel and dime tactic from Apple in order to keep their costs down, or in order to keep their margins up, really. But also, I have heard some people saying that this is one of the ways that they're going to be able to keep the prices down. I haven't been following the iPhone 12 rumors and leaks super closely, but I heard that they were having production issues with OLED screens in the smaller, in the non-Pro devices. So it could be, in order to maintain their margins, they have to cut something. And I'd rather them cut a charger than cutting OLED.
What do you think?
I think, I'm uploading my hot take video as we speak, so I'll just summarize quickly. I think there's a lot of things, and I think Prosser on Twitter said that he wasn't sure about this anyway, so it could just be much to do about nothing. But if it's true, immediately we're going to have this reflex reaction where it's like our bag of chips stays the same size, but every year there's less chips in it. And what are you doing to my chips? And that's just a very visceral reaction. But people are going to say, if you take away the headphones and you take away the power plug, then you've got to drop the price. But the reality is the retail price is not what Apple pays. Apple pays, pennies on the dollar for those things, because they're not even paying wholesale. They manufacture them, and those things are scaled up and paid down. And Apple's not going to charge you $697 for an iPhone. That's just ugly. And we're going to still have to pay $40 to buy it. But I think that if you look at what they're doing with these iPhones, they're putting OLED screens into the lower ones, and it sounds like BOE. Their liberated Samsung process hasn't worked out very well for them. So it might be LG screens, which are probably more expensive. And they're also putting 5G in. And we saw other vendors, when they put 5G in, they raised the price by $100. Like Samsung managed to make iPhones look cheap earlier this year. And Apple's supposedly going to be holding the price. And I don't think this is going to make that much of a difference. Maybe times 100,000 units, it'll make a little bit of difference. But I think it's an easy way for them to cut costs, cut shipping, and weave an environmental story about how it's way better for the planet. If I got to be God mode for a day, I would just give people like a discount or a voucher when they check out and say, do you really need this because your Nintendo also shipped without a charger? Okay, check this box here and we'll add one to your cart. That's how I would handle it and try to do the best of both worlds.
Yeah, sort of similar to with a Pro Display XDR. It's just like the way that you word it could make a big difference. So if they had come out with the Pro Display XDR and said it's $6,000, or you can do $5,200 if you want to swap out the stand for a VESA mount, or $5,000 if you want neither. So frame it as a discount rather than making a charger be additional. Just a simple way to do it. I would bet that they're probably just not going to mention it at all. They're just going to introduce the iPhone 12. When have they ever talked about a charger? They don't really talk about that
and
stuff.
Then the embargo goes up on the reviews and everyone's like, there's no charger in the box.
And then that's all and they're like, oh yes, it's got OLED, but there's no charger. What the heck is going on? It's a $650 phone with an OLED display. There's no charger though.
I love in the comments when someone's saying, is this just a giant finger to the EU? Because the EU is saying you got to make all the chargers the same, and they're like, no charger.
Yeah. that
would be a boss move.
Phil walks up and no charger.
Well, they actually do. So if you buy like the iPod Touch, bless its heart, it actually doesn't come with a power brick. So I mean, they do sell products without it. I'm kind of against it. I get like the e-waste argument, and I get that people have a lot of chargers, but in a way, I just like when you get a product, everything comes with it that you need it to work. And I don't know. I feel like that's always been kind of Apple's mantra, it works, like you don't have to worry about buying another charger.
No cables with an Apple TV. Sonny Dixon is talking about shipping an iPhone with nothing when he already has next year's iPhone. So come on, Sonny.
It's true.
It's not even fair.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be mad if they got rid of the earpods. That I think they could do without. Personally, I don't know. I'm not too convinced about the whole no charger thing. I don't know if that. I think people are kind of blowing it up. People always do this with leaks and rumors and stuff. Getting kind of mad before we actually know what's going to happen. So, like, I think it's too soon to be making like a definitive judgment.
Yeah, no.
So everybody's home and angry. Like everyone is just home and angry about everything right now. And like we've had it. We've had enough. If you do anything else, we're going to be just so mad at you. So stop it. Just stop everything.
Yeah, and the people on Twitter, they're like, I can't believe they're not shipping this with a charger. What am I going to do? And I'll put it on my wireless charging pad. Off I go now. Like the people getting mad about this aren't probably the people that are going to be affected by it. I don't know. If you're tweeting from a phone, then I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're probably not going to be that mad because you probably already have a charger.
Greg's mainstream audience that we're worried about.
Yeah, no, true. It's my mom who's going to get it and be like, my phone didn't come with a charger. Do you have an extra one? Be like, okay, here you go.
Where's your old charger? I gave it away when I gave away the old phone. I can't give them no charger.
The thing I find with my family is they have like one charging brick and they'll take it with them to like travel with, and then they like leave it at someone's house. So that's usually how they misplace their charger.
But then that person now has two charging bricks.
That is true. The extra person has a second charger that they claim that they never found.
There's a whole army of chargers just making their way slowly around the world.
Hey, if they're gonna say e-waste or waste in general, I think it's time to get rid of those Apple stickers too, because
no,
there will be blood.
You stop.
There will be blood.
You stop those. Those are fighting words right there, Greg. Oh,
what are you gonna stack on your neighbor's car so that he's super angry about it? Take that, Linux.
Yeah, the
Ubuntu Bob. Here's your Apple sticker.
I love seeing a Windows laptop in the wild, and he's got the Apple sticker plastered right over that Dell logo. And there's nothing better.
Well, those fake Microsoft laptops they had on CBS for so many years.
Right. I was always so confused back. Those are like late 2000s. They had like those black laptops with the white Windows 7 logo.
Yeah,
and you're always like, what? That's not a laptop. That's not a thing.
Can't buy those.
I know. For the longest time, I tried to look those up, and then I figured out, nope. It was just some very not subtle product placement. And I also loved on a lot of shows, especially like kids shows, they would always have the MacBook, the very obvious MacBook, but with like a pineapple sticker instead of an apple.
So Luke watched iCarly. That's pretty much confirmation right there. That's the confirmation that he was.
It wasn't just iCarly
now, Greg.
Every single Disney Channel show had that.
To be fair, Luke, I wouldn't know, but my favorite is I think there was like newscasters and they had like Surfaces and they were using it to like prop their iPads up.
Yeah.
But
Or
no,
at
I do
the-
feel
the
bad for
Oscars.
Microsoft. Like if you, like this thing running under Rosetta is running faster than the Surface 10, and Apple's going to launch Mac OS on ARM, and Microsoft's going to do that for what, a year now. It's just oh, please, I need competition, please.
Yeah, so going back to this topic, do you think now one of the reasons I was so like excited to actually cover this is because, you know, PCs and Macs for the last, I don't know, decade or plus, you know, it's basically the same processor minus some of AMD's recent stuff where they've actually been kicking some butt in the processor department. But it's pretty much for you go in, you buy a laptop, it has Intel in it. And now we're going to have two distinct advantages. It's like when you go to buy an iPhone and it's got the custom chip in it and you go, wow, look how fast that is. So now on laptops and desktops where they can, you know, where that performance matters even more to people like us, do you think that's going to create like a huge divide between Windows laptops and Mac?
Before we answer this, can we just say that if you say AMD instead of x86, you can say Apple Silicon instead of ARM, and nobody's going to cry. It's fine. If you refuse to say AMD, then I'm with you when you refuse to say Apple Silicon.
Okay.
The internet is just so childish.
Yeah, people get so mad about ARM. It's like, I mean, I think the main problem comes down to this point. Like, you have two bad options. You have ARM, which isn't really that descriptive, and then you have Apple Silicon, which is way more of a mouthful than it needs to be.
Just call it Trionic and leave, like, you know, get over with it.
I say A series chips a lot in my video. I think that's pretty good, but you know,
but that's not what they're really going to call it. I think I'm pretty safe in saying that they're not going to be calling.
Will they call it X series and just mess with it with Intel completely?
I've been trying to figure out what are they going to call it, because obviously I think they're going to try to do something numeric. They're going to they might even start with. Well, they start with 11 because Mac OS 11, because the iPhone chips kind of line up with the iOS release. Will they just line it up so that everything is 14 or whatever? I don't really know, but I think
they got rid of the M series, so that's freed up.
That's true. The coprocessor. I think the coprocessor. Yeah, I think that M would make the most sense, but it might still be a little confusing because of the coprocessor thing.
They could use the prince's name, like that symbol.
Oh, that's a great idea. That'll make it even harder to say in the YouTube videos.
Just call it A series.
Just call it X whatever 10 10 10, and then
it's X, and we're starting at 87. It's gonna be the X87.
But going back to this divide, like, do you think like it's gonna be interesting? Because if everything they're doing with like the iPad chips translates kind of over to the Mac, I mean, you're gonna have Macs that have significant performance gains, way better thermals, way better battery life.
Unified memory architecture.
All these like things. Apple in control of all of the hardware, giving you features probably that they wouldn't do on Intel.
Timing controllers that can do 5K. I mean, memory controllers, H.265 encode decode blocks, which Intel still hasn't shit. I mean, the list of things that Intel has never, even if you just watch the sessions and they talk about the boot recovery stuff that they could never do on Intel and are doing right out the gate on ARM, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's when you look at the A12X, and sometimes I've heard criticisms of it where it's like, well, it's not really an 8-core processor because it can't sustain the performance for very long, and 4 of those cores are weak efficiency cores. It's like, yeah, it's a tablet, and that's called optimization. You don't need a Core i9 in a tablet. What you need is the ability to have high performance when you need it, and also have efficiency so you get good battery life, not have a ton of power draw, and the fact that it's an 8-core chip with still very decent performance, still rivaling quad-core Intel performance, but using way less power, passive cooling, and let's be honest, cheaper. I think that's another aspect that's going to be really interesting to see. The price of these Apple chips is so much lower than Intel. I mean, the Core i5 1038 G7 1035. It's a disastrous naming scheme, but whatever they put in the MacBook Pro, the Core i5, is like $320 to OEMs, whereas an A12Z is in an $800 iPad with ridiculous margins. So that can't be more than $100 for them to put in there.
Scott says the 7 nanometers is really screwing with Intel because they're still trying to figure out 10. All the nanometers are just marketing names. So like Intel's 10 is equivalent to Taiwan Semiconductor's 7. Like they're going to hit quantum numbers eventually, but for now that's just all like marketing flibber flabber.
Yeah.
But they can't ship 10 anyway, so it's whatever.
Yeah, they can't even ship whatever their version of 10 is.
Greg made us promise not to talk to you for the first half hour, and the chat room is on to us now.
Greg and I talked about this before, and I go, this is going to be the quietest I've ever been on any podcast ever because I'm just going to be back here checking, making sure the chat's good. That's all.
Are you going to review Amazon refreshed Macs when they start coming out?
So that's the other thing. One of my Discord members is in here. PB Mama, if you're in here, ask your question. She wants to buy a specific renewed MacBook. And I said, hey, the perfect people are going to be on GadgetCast tonight, so you can ask that question in the chat, and we'll try to get you an answer. But yes, actually, that is one of the things I want to do. I do want to do a couple renewed laptops. But the thing is, Lucas told me, and that's actually how we first got connected. And actually, you may not know this, Rene, the whole renewed series came from me watching Luke videos.
Wow.
I was inspired by
honored.
It. Yes.
Look at Greg. Look how offended he is.
I think that's true.
It's 100% true, and I can prove it to you. It's 1,000% true.
I did a renewed video back in the day, and you went.
Who did? Who did?
I did.
You did? I didn't.
He canceled that though,
dude. Clearly, that was inconsequential.
Pretty much.
Okay.
No, seriously, no, but it was Luke. And now I've lost my train of thought. Oh, but I remember when the first contact I had with Luke on Twitter was him asking, hey, I'm thinking of doing some of these videos. Can you look at some of the pricing on some of these ones I'm looking at? And he's like, these are all pretty terrible. Like, oh, crap. So, the one thing I've noticed about Renewed on Amazon is the phones are a good price. The tablets are not. The Apple Watch that I just did a video on was not well priced. It was a Series 2 for $190 something, which you can get a Series 3 new for $179.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a Series 3 42 millimeter for like $125.
Ooh.
Yeah,
on eBay. Yeah.
See, so they're just other than the phones, nothing else seems to be.
Amazon is so weird. Like you'll go there and a bottle of Tabasco sauce will be $30. Like it's just you never know what your price is.
Completely. I mean, they're the third party sellers of used Macs on Amazon are quite frankly an embarrassment, and they should not be allowed to continue to operate business on the platform. You will see these people with 2009 MacBooks running, not even like patched to a newer OS. They're just straight up 5 years outdated running LCAP. And they'll be on there listed at $500-$600 with a mechanical hard drive and 8 gigs of RAM. And it's just, deceptive listings, false advertising. They'll put pictures of a Retina when it's not a Retina. They'll try to disguise the fact that they've got a Core 2 Duo by saying like dual core Intel processor. It's I would be surprised if it's even legal, the amount that they try to hide what they're advertising. It's just embarrassing.
Plus, if you contact them, they'll try to get you to invest in their oil business. That's just about
exactly. I had a friend. I had to save my cousin a couple of months ago because she almost dropped $700 on a 2009 with with like a 500 gig hard drive. I was like, please wait, no, stop.
Well, we have. So I remember one of the videos I watched of yours where you got like a stupid good deal on it. I forget what it was. Like you bought it from eBay and you were positive it wasn't going to be any good. And you got it and you're like, holy crap. I can't remember which one. Do you remember which one that was?
Oh, yeah. That was where. So eBay also has its fair share of scammy Mac listings. Basically all the same stuff. I've seen people sell a 2009 MacBook and advertise it as having a Core i2. That is not a joke. That happens all the time. And they just try to pull one over your eyes and try to trick people
anyway when it arrives.
Yeah, exactly. So I made a video trying to get scammed. So I intentionally paid $540 for what was very clearly a disguised 2009. And they sent me a 2013 15-inch Retina MacBook Pro. And I was like, that's a little strange. And it had, the configuration was not what they had said it was. It had more storage. It had a different, and I was like, there's no way that this is what they were advertising that whole time, because if you have a Retina, you're going to put Retina all over your listing. So what I did was I ordered another one. I got my friend with his eBay account to a different address with a different name to order one. And sure enough, it was a 2009 15-inch unibody 500 gig hard drive. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. So I don't know if it was a mistake, or I suspect maybe they recognized my name from the shipping address because I had made videos in the past. I don't really know, but it was definitely a little sketchy.
So real quick, PB Mama says, found a MacBook on Renewed. Not sure what specs I should even be looking for on a Mac. Technically challenged. Hashtag. Yeah, well, from working from home, so she's also asking if I should get an iPad Pro or a Mac to work from home. So the difference, and I definitely am going to leave this to you guys because while I do all my stuff on my iPad Pro, I don't own any type of Mac PC and at any laptop or desktop or anything. So you guys are going to have to tell what the line is between when do you go to a Mac laptop versus you can just use the iPad. Whoever wants to answer that.
I usually think like if you don't know, go for an iPad. If there's specific things the iPad can't do for you, like for example, if you have to run software that doesn't work on an iPad, there's specific 3D programs or Final Cut Pro, there are alternatives logically. If you specifically know there are things that you want to do that an iPad can't do, you should probably get a Mac. Otherwise, just default to the iPad and then find out if you can't use it for anything you need to use it for.
You can also get a nice iPad for the same money as a not so nice Mac.
Yeah.
Like we all see the videos comparing the iPad Pro, like the maxed 12.9 inch, like $1,400 iPad Pro to a 13-inch MacBook Pro for a new comparison. But if you're looking used or even just in that sub like $500-$600 range, then you're probably going to be able to get yourself a pretty nice iPad with like ProMotion, recent model, maybe even a 2018 on refurbished. But for the Mac side, $500 can maybe get you a 13-inch Retina, but it's probably not going to be, it's going to take some hunting. It might not be in the best condition. Battery life might suffer towards the end of support life for like a 2013 or 14. So once you get lower down, I think an iPad starts to provide actually pretty decent value.
Yeah, I agree with what they said. If you don't know if you have any older programs that work on Mac, then try and make an iPad work because the value's there. And iPads are great now, and you got keyboard support. Even if you're getting something like the iPad Air or the 10.2-inch iPad, you have like that Logitech case that actually has like a trackpad and keyboard, so you can make it into a full-fledged laptop. You don't have to go out and buy the $350 Magic Keyboard with an iPad Pro to make it work for you. Options across the board, and even the cheapest option has pencil support, not the good pencil, and keyboard support with Smart Connector.
There
were a bunch of people asking if the if the Apple Silicon Macs are going to be cheaper, and my guess is that they're going to use the same strategy they use with iOS devices, and that is the higher end ones will just add more features. Like they'll get things like Face ID or whatever that'll eat up the budget that they save from switching from Intel to Apple Silicon. But then at the same time, they'll push the price down like they have with the cheap iPad and the cheap Apple Watch and the iPhone SE, so that we'll get hopefully the best of both worlds. If you want like peak performance, you'll be able to pay for it, and if you just want the cheapest Mac possible, they'll be cheaper Macs than ever.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that we might actually, because a lot of people thought when the 12-inch MacBook came out, they're like, hey, this seems like it could be the new budget Mac. This seems like it could replace the MacBook Air. And, naming scheme wise, that used to be the case back in 2010 before they discontinued the polycarbonate MacBook. The MacBook was the baseline. So I think it's possible that we could see a sort of a 12-inch MacBook reincarnation at a sub $1,000 price point, because I think switching to Apple Silicon would allow that. You could literally put an A12Z and just have that in a 12-inch MacBook form factor, and it would be a very serviceable Mac. So I definitely think that we could end up seeing a new lower tier Mac come back, like a new MacBook nameplate coming back. But I think for the higher end stuff, they're probably going to offset the savings with like mini LED, doing the curved displays, putting Face ID and better webcams in, hopefully. So I don't think that all the Macs are going to get cheaper.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think a dual approach probably is to be expected at this point, especially what we've seen what they've done with the $329 iPad and also keeping the older Apple Watches around. I mean, you can get an Apple Watch Series 3, $200. It's a pretty good value. And I would expect a similar approach with the MacBook. And again, expect also more expensive ones that you're also going to want that are jam-packed with all new features. It's going to be so interesting when we first see it. I'm so shocked that we're going to actually see one by the end of this year. That's
I wonder if they're going to do the same thing, because Steve Jobs said it was going to be a 2-year transition as well, and it took like 10 months. Like they got the Xserve and the Mac Pro out before they even got into the second year. So we'll see. It's like Scotty on Star Trek. Are they going to try to, miracle worker and set expectations and then just blow them away?
Yeah, and they actually did. Like 2006 was a crazy year for Apple, because in January they killed off. They basically were like, all right, PowerBook is dead. We don't care about PowerBook. We want Mac in the name. They introduced the MacBook and the MacBook Pro. And then they actually updated those twice in 2006. They did them again at the end of the year, because at the beginning they were running Core Duos, and there's a late 2006 variant that has Core 2 Duos that are 64-bit that were a little bit better. But so not only did they literally completely transition their entire lineup in 2006, they also did some of them twice. So I think it could be possible that we'll see pretty much the entire lineup within a year. The only things that give me pause are the really high-end stuff, like the Mac Pro. The timing is a little bit strange on that. I figured if they had an Apple Silicon Mac Pro that was really itching to go, they probably would have waited on the redesign, just because it would be a little weird to have a Mac Pro, then 6 years of nothing, and then a new Mac Pro, and then a year later, an entirely new Mac Pro. It's a little bit of a strange.
I think they needed the Intel one just for like the people at Pixar and Lucasfilm who are no way going to have Apple Silicon versions of all their production stuff ready in anything approaching a few years' time.
Oh no, I'm sure that they did it a lot for that as well. But I think there's also the aspect of like, just Apple likes to milk their products and kind of stretch out updates if they can. Like the iMac Pro hasn't been touched, especially on the higher end stuff. They like to kind of let those stew for a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Mac Pro takes a little bit of time. I don't even know. I'm starting to wonder what's going to happen to the iMac Pro. It might not even get an update. I think it might. It's possible that they'll end up kind of merging that into the iMac and just kind of get rid of that category completely.
Yeah, well, it makes like if what they said is accurate, and it's hard to tell because all they talked about was SoCs, and those don't have discrete graphics. And right now, most iMacs have discrete graphics, and the iMac Pro has the Xeon cores and the much higher end graphics. And what does that look like in Apple Silicon world, where there is no Xeon and there is no core? And do they even have like discrete graphics, or do they just have something like the ProRes afterburners that you can attach to things? And the whole thing is wide open. Like they could say you have 3 years to make a card that beats NVIDIA, and Apple's like, we have endless money, and 3 years is a lot of time. Okay. Or they could just say, everything's going to be an SoC, and we have this newfangled technology that uses this crazy proprietary fabric to move data around, and here you go. You just slap this on the back, and suddenly it's an iMac Pro.
I could also see them doing, now that they have their, what do they call it, the XMP modules or whatever it is. Now that they have that new standard, I think it would be weird of them to introduce that for one model of Mac and then kind of get rid of that. So I think they might end up, maybe they'll do a proprietary card that uses that interface. So they'll have like their own GPUs, but have those kind of be discrete. They could, the other thing that I'm a little nervous about is, like right now, most Apple desktops, by which I mean really the iMac and the Mac Pro, because that's all there are, apart from the Mac Mini, they have socketed CPUs. So especially in the Mac Pro, that's a big deal, because you buy an 8-core Mac Pro, you can make that a 28-core all on your own. So what does that mean for Apple Silicon? Are they going to be like, oh, sorry, are they going to make socketed Apple Silicon processors? Because that would be a whole new thing. That would be interesting.
Hey, Bob, can you add some PCIe lanes real quick? We just need to socket this thing, and it's got to have I/O. What?
Yeah.
It's got to have I/O.
That's a great question, too, because we know they're moving over basically to a line of Mac chips. I think they were pretty clear on that there's going to be multiple versions of Mac.
They said a family.
Like A and W. It'll be like a Mama Mac and an Uncle Mac and a Grandpa Mac.
Yeah. So with like when you go to buy an iPhone or an iPad, you get that year's chip. That's it. That's the one they made. With Macs and stuff, though, you do get processor options. Do you think like they'll keep those around and be like, hey, you can get the M11 or you can get the M20? I mean, for something like the Mac Pro, where you have like the options that start at the base model, and then you have ones that go all the way to the high end where you're spending like $50,000. I imagine they'd have to do something.
You could have like a ultra mobile MacBook chip, a Pro MacBook chip, a basic desktop chip and a pro desktop chip, and then just variant branch them from there.
Yeah, because I think having the ability to upgrade the processor, upgrade the graphics, I don't see that going away. Like it makes sense in an iPad that you can choose the screen size, you can choose whether you want wireless, and you can choose how much storage you want. That makes sense. The fact that they all share the processor, the same with the iPhone, how you can have the same processor in a $400 iPhone or a $1,400 iPhone, that also I could see making sense. But I think for a laptop, or especially for a Pro, like a Mac Pro, I think they must have some plan for a tiered processor approach. If not replaceable, the Mac Pro, it would be incomprehensible to me that there would be one processor option for a Mac Pro. That would just be so backwards, I think.
You have a Ryzen now, don't you, Travis?
Yeah, Ryzen 7 2700, I think. Well,
so how many ARM cores would you need to equal what you have with the Ryzen? Like 3 dozen?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what if it's optimized for the content, right? So it takes less time for me to render a 4K video on my iPad Pro than it does on my desktop. So I guess it depends on what. Now, could I play some of the games I can play on my PC that I call my iPad Pro? Maybe. I mean, we're starting to see that with the Tomb Raider thing that they showed, which I thought was pretty impressive. But
120 hertz Fortnite.
That's true. It was the first place you can get. I mean, that is kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I was just looking at something. I don't want to break too far off this, but it's something I don't want to forget because Greg and I talked about this the night he was making the thumbnail for this show, which, by the way, to the audio, go to YouTube to watch it.
It's a work of art.
Just a little behind the scenes and like how the sausage is made. So I was actually streaming with Greg while he was doing. So he was showing me his screen as he was going through Photoshop and doing all the things. And when he posted it, we both sat there. This is so dumb. We're kind of nerdy. We sat there giggling like little schoolgirls, waiting for one of you to like reply on Twitter about it. So we waited until Luke did. I said, Luke just replied. And then he goes, what did he say? So we were in back and forth. And I said, okay, Luke replied. And then he liked it. Okay. When I was waiting for Rene. Rene never said anything. But in waiting to figure out if Rene was going to reply to it, we looked and we discovered something about Rene's Twitter, kind of what he does on Twitter, which I thought was really compelling. And I have to understand why this is, Rene. So
what do I do?
It's actually what you don't do. You don't like tweets. You have only one tweet in 2019, none in 2020. And the last time you did before 2019.
That was probably an accident.
Misclick.
So what is now this is interesting to me. I find this really compelling. Why don't you like tweets?
So which is funny because I do like things on Instagram and I don't know what the difference is. But at some point I got really angry at Twitter. I forget what it was, but they just did something abhorrent. And I'm like, you no longer are going to get my content. So I set up, it never works, but I set up to just auto delete tweets. And I'm like, I'm just going to give you as little data as possible. I'm not going to train your algorithm. I'm going to reply when I need to, but I am withholding as much as I can until you get your act together. And then from then on, I didn't like tweets anymore. And then it became like, I don't even think about it. Like I will just rather reply. And I noticed that a lot of other people don't reply and I forget that likes exist. So I figured they just never saw the tweet.
And sometimes that's the case. No, it was interesting. It was just a little fun thing. I
didn't know what to say. I saw that. And then by the time I saw it, Luke had responded. And then in my head, I was going like, what can I do that is actually worthy of this picture? And then I got super tired and fell asleep. And forgot.
You don't have to lie, Rene. We know you just took one look at that and you're like, I'm coming on this show.
It was so nonchalant. Like the way I was like John Travolta in Get Shorty. You know, like I wanted to shoot laser beams, but I didn't really care one way or another about them.
Like he's the Jedi Master. He's like,
yeah. We were going for that whole look.
It's like Tim Cook when he's eating that power bar and he's like, why aren't you on the plane yet? You know, it's just that sort of
the cybernetic attachments of the arm and Luke's head were a last addition. We're just trying to because Rene's arm got cut off in our, again, we did it very poorly. We just went to removebackground.com and, very quick job. And it cut off the arm and we're just like, cut off Rene's arm. I'm like, don't worry about it, Travis. I got an idea.
He kept finding the crappiest pictures of things. But it ended up kind of
Also, I used to use likes to bookmark tweets. Like I would like things to have a list of what I wanted to go back to, and then I never went back to them. So now I started just actually opening them as tabs right away.
Yeah, totally.
All right. We should probably talk about some like iOS 14 stuff. So Travis has something to say, I think. But
I want to know if he's going to stay, because he had a whole list of demandments. It was like, he had it published in the New York Times. It was like a manifesto of what Apple had to do to keep him, or the hostages, which I imagine are all the phones he has, were going to die. And I want to know how close Apple got to actually doing what you threatened them they had to do.
Listen, I did not see widgets coming, and I did not see picture-in-picture coming. Those to me are kind of game-changing things, because they're always two of the biggest things that people say on the Android side, that like widgets and picture-in-picture. All right,
widgets, picture-in-picture, and the taste of freedom. That's like usually the three things.
How many articles did I see this week and last week going, iOS is better than Android now, and it beats Android at its own game? Like I saw a bunch of people say that, and that was really weird to see, because Android people are usually like, what are you talking about? Android's had this for
No, they still prefer their notifications, Greg. We're never going to take that away from them.
Well, they always have to have something to cling on to, so I don't know.
I mean, there's always,
and they can set their screen text to market to Comic Sans. I mean, how can we even compete?
You know, Rene, I have a sister who sometimes actually watches this show, so she might be watching, and she does set her phone font to Comic Sans, and it's very disgusting.
We hired somebody for Android Central, and they did a whole slew of help articles with their font set to Comic Sans. And like one of the editors looked at it and goes, "Can you please redo every single one of these screenshots?"
They didn't get fired.
No, it's not it is a redoable offense, not a fireable. I mean, I don't know how
you'd get fired if you use Papyrus.
I think Papyrus, a little better than Comic Sans, to be fair. If
Marker felt his Comic Sans with a shave and a haircut. I think that's what Merlin's line is.
Well, I think there's some Steve Jobs presentations where I think he's using like Marker felt or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's
But then he also okayed brush metal. So I mean, we can have a whole conversation.
If it's good enough for Steve, it's good enough for me. That's what I always say. So
this is the stitched leather from my airplane. Just make this.
We didn't even get to talk about the icons in Big Sur, Travis. You
yeah, good. I only have one thing to say about that. It's a baby bottle. Let's just get over it and move forward. I've been saying that for a while now. It's a baby bottle. You know which one I'm talking about. There's only one icon.
The battery.
Oh, the battery. Yeah. But I kind of want to deflate the messages in FaceTime. Like I just want to put a little pin in them so they deflate to the size of the other icons.
I like the new icons. I gotta admit, they've pretty much grown on me at this point. I'm looking at my Catalina Mac. I'm like, I want those new icons.
I'm super angry because like the watch gets so the iOS gets super ellipses, the watch gets circles, the Apple TV gets rounded rectangles, and the Mac now gets nothing. It doesn't have its own identity for icons anymore. It's like you also get super ellipses, hand me down super ellipses. What? You're the eldest kid, so what? The other one outgrew you. Here, baby.
You're getting
like just let them have their own icon shape. Who does it hurt? Super salty.
And the only other thing is like it works when you have a dock full of Apple icons, as I do, because I'm a very particular kind of person, and I always like to have the stock apps at the bottom so it looks consistent because I'm weird. So that's fine. I don't mind because everything changed in the same way. But all my other apps are still their normal icons. I don't know that they're not making everyone update to this new icon shape as far as I'm aware.
People are going to refuse.
Yeah. So then you're going to have like these weird, it's going to look like you dropped an iOS device on your keyboard and it just fell inside the Mac and then the icons got stuck there and they can't get out. It's going to be very strange.
To be fair, you can change icons on the Mac. So
but that's a lot of effort.
Have to disable, don't you have to disable? Well, you have to go down in the new Macs. You'll have to go down to reduce protection.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's true. Well,
and not to mention that you then have to find all the icons and download them,
and then you can't run iOS apps
change
anymore.
them.
I mean, it's a whole thing.
I mean, what are we, Android users? I mean, that's too much work. Can't do that, right, Travis?
I mean, I am. Well, actually, I'm not.
Are you running the beta, Travis?
No, so I could. I didn't really know how to get it. So Greg and I talked a little bit about like how to get it for a while, and then he finally gave me a way to get it, and I just never got around to it.
Unprofessional.
Totally.
I told Travis to go to developer Apple and pay $99 a year. So
I told him to go to download.com, give him all his information, and press the button.
I said Google search, download YouTube video, and they'll help you out.
Click on all the pop-ups, download all of the different Adobe Flash Player updates,
Yeah, click the right download link and
Turn off Windows Defender first.
mhm. I gave him all the steps, Luke. Don't worry about it. So he's good to go.
Good.
Reboot. Yeah, that's all good.
Serial number. Yeah, I know it was. No, I did last year. No, I did the public beta last year. I might do the public beta. Talk a little bit about that. I think
The
you
public
guys.
betas are usually pretty stable.
Yeah, no, I,
For iOS
you guys
13.
can handle this.
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Except for 13.
I mean, iOS 13, Catalina especially. I mean, Catalina is still a public beta as far as reliability. The amount of times I get crashes, Final Cut Pro crashes like every time I launch
Yeah.
it. It's ridiculous.
So that's the thing, though. It's like they keep saying stability release, but they've rewritten the entire operating system. Like they rewrote LaunchD, they rewrote the windowing server, they rewrote the file system. Mac OS is very little to do with OS 10 anymore, and they did that while the plane was flying. And they kept saying, stability, and you're like, no, it's not a stability. Look what you rewrote. It's ridiculous.
You made a whole new file system. What are you talking about stability?
Yeah.
You just mean you don't have any new
and driver kit, and they made separate boot parts. I mean, like this, they were moving everything. Like it was like the duck under the surface was just chewing away there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, Travis,
Yeah.
we need you to participate and say something. So,
yeah, your participation grade
this
for
like
the
gym
day
class?
is slipping.
Travis, why don't you pick a topic? Why don't you talk about what
We were literally going to iOS 14. We just started, and then we
iOS 14, Travis. Why don't you give us
back
your
into the other thing. I don't know.
hot take? Renee asked if they got your list of demands.
So yeah, I think I'm more compelled by it than I have been. I'm like just super impressed with how long they support their phones. I mean, regardless of whether or not you are a fan of iPhones or Android or whatever the case, if you're a logical human being that does not think that the world is flat and that you don't need to wear a mask, then you know one very important thing, and that is that Apple supports their phones longer than any Android manufacturer, period, end of story. And let's just be honest about it. Now, it doesn't mean you have to like Apple. That doesn't mean that. But you have to admit it. It's the truth. Like it's true. It's really true. Wear a mask, damn it. No, I mean, listen. I just saw a guy who said the people who don't wear masks are the ones that aren't ignorant, and the people who do it. I can't get into that.
Batman wears a mask.
Thank you. He wears it over his eyes, though, right?
Spider-Man wears a mask. I mean, we can just go on all night. Wolverine. We can just keep going.
But yeah, no, I'm actually kind of excited for it. I want to see if it changes my kind of day-to-day. Widgets will be fun because I actually did use widgets on Android for a long time, and but I've been now on an iPhone since I think like November of last year, and I've gotten really used to it. And of course, I like being able to airdrop like some real quick B-roll between that and my iPad, and just there's some really nice things. I do miss some Android parts. I just haven't been overly compelled by what's out there. But that Fold 2 might got me. That Fold. I mean, I know it's going to be $1 million, but that Fold got me.
Well, I mean, the thing, I mean, as you mentioned earlier about just support and longevity, I think that is the most underrated, but also important aspect of an iPhone. Apple just stands by their stuff for a really long time. There's no getting around that. I mean, when you look at the Google Pixel, which is sort of setting a precedent for, we'll support your device for 3 years, or I think it was 3, right? I think, and then that was sort of like industry leading in Android phones. And obviously, I'm an iPhone guy. I've been using iPhones for 8 years. I have never even once considered using an Android on a long-term basis. I've tested Pixel phones. I've used them for a couple of weeks. They're nice devices. I don't have a problem with Android, but you just can't deny, 3 years being the top of releases, especially now that Android phones are just as expensive as iPhones. You're spending $1,500 on a phone and you're getting 1, maybe 2 years of updates. To me, that is just absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, my iPhone 6S that runs iOS 14, I've got the beta installed on it. Runs perfectly fine. That's a 5-year-old
It's the same phones as last year. It's just
yeah.
And they make so much free stuff. Like in a normal world, when things are open, you can just go to the Apple Store, take classes on everything. I know people who started YouTube channels after learning how to do Final Cut Pro at an Apple Store, and they have all this educational content you can download, all these free apps, like all the iWork apps, and there's a ton of free stuff that they kind of package into those high-priced iPhones.
Yeah. And then even now in low-priced iPhones, like the iPhone SE, that thing is a really great value. I know a bunch of people who had an iPhone 6S, 7. Not so many people upgraded from an 8 because it's, why would you? But especially the 6S and 7 people, it is a really compelling issue because they're like, okay, well, my phone is slow and my battery sucks. My screen is cracked. What should I buy? They'll come to me and be like, hey, what I got to upgrade my phone. What should I buy? I go, what if I told you that for $400, you could have the same form factor you're used to, but it'll get support for 5-6 years. You can still use your same case with your stickers and your pop socket on it because you're a millennial and that's what you do. And
shots fired.
Oh, it's perfect. That's exactly what I want.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I think the one thing that I said this on one video, I don't remember which one. The one thing that Android does do a lot better than Apple, but it's because of the way Apple works, is there are different form factors and different types of experiences you can have. So Apple dictates and always has dictated your experience. Fortunately, they're good at it because it's putting all of your eggs in one very kind of interesting basket where you're like, listen, we're just going to tell you what's good for you. And that
and you're going to like it.
You're going to like it.
If you don't, then you can suck it.
Exactly. And for a while there, they were catching guff, especially when Steve Jobs was essentially saying that in interviews, like, no, we know better than you. But they were right. I mean, they are like selling more iPhone 11s than any other phone that's out there, period. But it is nice that it would be cooler if you could do a Hackintosh for iPhones. Like you could put it on the form factor of a Galaxy Fold or something. Like it might be interesting. So I guess it really comes down to, and I see a lot of people asking, should I get the iPhone 12 or the Note 20 when it comes out? I'm actually going to do a video about this. It's not about that. It's about the operating system. It's about iOS, Android. Which are you more interested in? Forget about the hardware. Once you decide on the software, the hardware is chosen for you, more or less, especially on the iOS side of things.
I can answer that question a little bit better. Just get the iPhone 12. Don't waste your money on the next one.
But I need a physical keyboard, Greg. I need a physical freaking keyboard on my phone.
I say bring back the T-Mobile Sidekick.
Yes,
that was peak smartphone. Peak phone. And if it doesn't have a sliding sideways keyboard, then it can go to hell.
You would make
Andy Rubin gets even a penny of my money. I'm not buying a product anymore.
You would make my dad so
Very
happy.
Fair point.
You would make my dad so happy, Luke, if that actually happened, because he wants it desperately.
I mean, my mom held on to Verizon had for a while. I can't remember what it was manufactured through, but it was like one of those back when they used to put Verizon branding on some of the feature phones that they would sell. And it was this really, I think it was a Samsung phone, but it was a flip phone, but it flipped up, so like vertical and also sideways. So it had a dual hinge on it, and the keyboard was e-ink. So when you flipped it up, it was a keypad. And you could make phones on it. Boop, boop, make your calls. And then you'd flip it sideways, and it was a QWERTY keyboard. Everything else about it was terrible. But that I thought was very cool.
See, if I was running Apple right now, I would just say if you hate the green bubble and you want a purple one, give me $5. And I would make all the services revenue. Here you go. Here's your key. You're now a purple bubble in iMessage.
That's awesome.
Green bubble shame you into giving me all the monies.
So we want to wrap up the actual podcast. We'll do a little aftercast. We should probably talk a little bit about the last couple of videos both of you guys have done. Of course, for people who are listening on the audio podcast and maybe have never heard of Luke Miani. I was going to say Miami. Luke Miani, or I wanted to say Miami and I stopped myself and then I said I messed it up. Luke Miani. Or Rene Ritchie. Rene was killing it with WWDC before right before it happened, and then just destroying it right after. And then Luke came out and dropped a big bomb and had a really big video pop out. So tell us a little bit about those videos. Rene, you first, please.
I just tried to go through the keynote and do a video on everything. So I got one on iOS, iPadOS, macOS, Mac Silicon, watchOS. The tvOS stuff wasn't long enough to make a video out of. I really tried, but I called it a 3-minute video. And now I'm trying to pick up all. Now it's like, that scene where like, what are you going to call the company? It just says Aftermath. That's what it feels like now. It's just like Aftermath from Dub.
Yeah, we're all kind of running cleanup, answering other questions. It's also really hard to make, like with, I focus on Mac stuff. So it's really hard now to make videos without focusing on Apple Silicon, because it's like every single time you talk about a Mac, if it's got an Intel processor in it, now it's always going to have that caveat of like, well, maybe. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of reframing a lot of videos.
Yeah.
A lot of concepts.
Yeah, I know, Luke, you had a video ready to go that seemed to be a very similar topic to the one I just released. And it's hard because the people in my comments
plan that. Did you call each other in the morning and make sure that you had there's matching videos?
I literally had uploaded it earlier today. I filmed the video yesterday. I uploaded it this morning, and I go to YouTube to go edit my metadata, put in my end screens and stuff like that. And I see right there, Greg's Gadgets. Should you buy an Intel Mac? I was like, damn it.
That happened to me too. I was uploading a video and Jonathan Morrison tweets out everything Apple didn't tell you. And I'm like, as I changed mine quickly to everything Apple didn't answer.
Oh, this actually happened the opposite way. Greg told me that Luke did the same thing to him one time. It was just like a week.
Yeah, Luke did do that to me one time. So
yeah.
That was
you just upload your videos, Greg. You don't take that from anybody.
That was the Apple ecosystem idea. And then, me and Luke are up against Talos of Tech, who just gets the video out before both of us all the time, I think. So,
He puts it out before Apple announces anything. I think it's a
plant.
It's got to work there.
The worst thing is when Apple announces a new product via press release, and I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, I was up. I'm ready to make my video. I got all my thoughts collected." And then I just see like Drew like an hour later, and it's already up. And I'm like,
"An hour before."
How did he do it? Is he a time traveler?
How do you do it?
He's in Australia with Sunny. It's not fair.
That's podcast question of the week. Is Talos of Tech Drew a time traveler? So send us your email submissions there, and we need to find that out. We need to find out if he is a time traveler.
Remember when Ryan Block used to go to Australia so he could get before Apple would give in gadget review units, he would go to Australia to buy it as soon as he can and get the review up. That's dedication.
Yeah. That is dedication.
Isn't that what iFixit does too? Like to get
to do the teardowns.
Yeah. So, man, you know what? I might move to Australia. We got some fans in Australia, Travis. I think we should move there and pull that strategy.
That's a great idea for you. Thanks, Luke and Rene, for joining us today. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, hang tight. We'll do the aftercast. If you're listening on podcast, give a review. And why don't you watch? By the way, Rene has a podcast, so y'all need to be listening to that. Rene, what is it called, and how do they find it?
So I am incredibly boring or incredibly consistent, depending on how generous you feel. So it's just Rene Ritchie everywhere. So it's like youtube.com/Rene Ritchie, apple.co/Rene Ritchie for the audio version. Try to Twitter, Instagram, it's all the same thing.
Hey, it's simplicity.
Yeah.
And Luke Miani, where are we finding you at, buddy?
Well, pretty much the same thing. YouTube/Luke Miani. I don't have any other channels. I'm just, I'm a one-hit wonder.
And you better reserve Luke Miami right now before Greg does.
Well, I do have an imposter that I'm kind of taken down here that has registered LukeMiani.com and has been up to some shenanigans. So I've been in contact with a bunch of different places to try and get that.
Use your laser eyes. Don't take that, Luke. Use your laser eyes. I will burn you.
How I won my domain back. All right, everyone, we will see you on Sunday. Everyone else, hang tight in the aftercast, baby. I got to quickly go through the music because we don't have copyright for it. We're going to have new music and outro very soon. I'll see you later. Bye. All right, that's enough because I don't trust it. I don't trust it. It's gonna have to be it right there. All right, cool. Aftercast time, baby. So
you dropped the biggest ball of all time by not securing us the rights to that song. I'm just gonna say it.
Look, we got new music out of this. It's better because no one else has it now. I wanted to wait until the aftercast, so I just talk about your copyright strike there or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
What do we got?
Yeah. So this was actually the second time I've done a WWDC stream. I did one in 2018, back when I was irrelevant, and we had like a few people watching. It was a fun time. I was just kind of hanging out, and it was fine. We just streamed it. It got claimed afterwards, as you would expect, because Apple is pretty diligent with their like recent stuff. Anything that's uploaded to their YouTube channel, they'll claim if you just use the entire thing. But they don't really have a problem with you using clips. Like, everyone uses clips from WWDC. So I thought, I'll probably get claimed. I'll just take it down after the fact because, I don't really care about having that live stream monetized. It's not a big deal. And so we were streaming, and literally I think we got 2 minutes into the stream before it just cuts out. Got a notice from YouTube. This is a copyright strike. And it's still, if I go to my creator studio, the first thing, I can't dismiss it, is just like a big red box. And it says, let me load it up here. It just says, channel violations, active community guidelines strikes, warning, in big yellow letters. So they shut us down pretty much instantly.
Dang.
First time I've had anything more than a copyright claim. That was the first time I've been on YouTube for 10 years this August. And that's the first time I've had anything like that.
Now, if you were watching a GadgetCast during that, you saw the panicked shutting down of our live stream. And
I want to see that. I didn't see that. I want to see what you guys did.
We gotta put that on Twitter. That was a funny moment.
It was very funny. Viper was on with us. It was me, Greg, and Viper. And they're like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And then someone we were just talking. Someone in chat goes, Luke's stream just went down. And I was like, what? And while Luke and I was like, wait a minute. Luke's stream went down? Confirm that. And while we keep talking, he goes, and then someone else goes, yep, Luke Miani stream's down. I'm like, okay, we gotta go.
Greg, save the kids. Greg's like, I'm saving the Macs.
They're coming. They're gonna take them away.
Dude, I deleted that thing so fast.
I was so mad. We had 2,700 people watching, and it just gets yanked.
You gotta make a Twitch channel to do that next time, and then
I am gonna make a Twitch channel, and then I'll just kind of simulcast between.
Mattered.
Well, but I know that Tylosive was up on Twitch the entire time for WWDC, so I think I'll just switch over there for any future Apple events, because ideally I want to try to cover all of them. Going forward.
Yeah,
if there are any more.
They're done.
They're gone. They're done.
I even got a thing on Facebook because I was live streaming to my Facebook page like I'm doing right now. I even got a takedown there, but it seemed a lot less ominous there. It was like, just don't do this anymore. I was like, all right.
It's like when I got locked out of Twitter for a takedown for using sound of silence, and it's like, hey, you did something really bad. You use this, and if you want to be back on Twitter, you got to click this button and unlock your account and say you did something bad. I was like, okay.
It's more like, hey, nice live stream you got there. It'd be a pity if something happened to it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get a warning or anything. If I had gotten a warning, we would have just gone, okay, well, I guess we can't stream this anymore. Stop sharing the screen and just kind of do a live blog coverage. I know a couple of
do it first
places were doing just kind of live reactions to it and not necessarily showing the actual stream. But it literally just out of nowhere, we were streaming, and then I just noticed the page reload on my one of two side MacBooks that I had open. And then on the third MacBook, it just said, this stream has ended. And I was like, no, it hasn't. I didn't tell it to end. And then it just went to the you've been striked. So that was annoying. I would be fine with a warning.
One of
2,600 people watching, for Christ's sake.
One of the ideas we actually had before that day was to stream your stream.
Yes.
Yeah, Greg had mentioned that.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna copyright strike you. It probably would have at a certain point. You do get like the automated content ID things for live streams. It would probably have flagged me and given me the option to shut it down.
That would have been fun.
I would have taken a picture of that. Like, I hold all the cards, Greg. Tread carefully.
Exactly.
Compromat, Greg.
Your reversal.
Rene, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? I don't know what.
Empire Strikes Back is my favorite out of the 2.5 Star Wars movies that exist.
That's some shade.
It's a good answer, Rene. I'm more of a Return of the Jedi, but kind of same.
I love it, except like the fact that Lucas's kid could complain him into getting rid of the Wookiees and replacing them with Ewoks is like, that's too much power to give your kid.
Yeah. Although Ewoks are pretty cute.
I like the Ewoks.
There was no water on Endor. How did those things bathe?
Throne room scene. I don't know. It just makes it for me.
Like, no, yeah, that whole thing. That's why I said 2.5 movies. The entire Vader, like the whole Skywalker arc, fantastic.
Yeah.
So just a couple more minutes. We'll just take a couple questions from the chat. If you want to have any of these guys answer your question, just put it in the chat real quick, and we'll go ahead and pop through those as we go. Nicholas,
can I ask Greg something real quick?
You should.
So Greg, was it you who had the question about wireless versus high power charging? at the Rumble?
I do. No, I don't think so.
Okay, because I saw Andrew Edwards win one on high power charging. I'm like, there are cogent arguments you can make about why wireless charging is terrible too.
Yeah.
And I was just frustrated that they didn't make those.
No, I didn't have that. I had I don't even remember what I had anymore. I had our phones making us lazier, which I love my phone. But
I told him that one of the things he missed on that was autocorrect. Like
it's
that.
fine. It's fine. You know,
We've given up. We just spell like autocorrect now. Doesn't matter. Duck this, duck that. It's fine.
And then I got like, should phones still have headphone jacks? And I thought I knocked that out of the park, but apparently I didn't.
That one. What's everyone's thoughts on WatchOS 7? Me personally, I mean, it's all right. All right. What about you, Greg?
I have been tracking how much little sleep I've been getting since WWDC, and now every time is bedtime, my watch is like, it's time for bed, and I'm like, I'm editing a video.
What a troll! Like they put out like sleep during Dub. That is like the worst troll possible.
It is. It's a feature that might actually be useful to me like next week, but last week and the beginning of this week, I've just been like looking at my watch, and it's probably going to activate in like an hour, and I'm just going to be looking at it going, I got something to do. My watch just rebooted, by the way, on WatchOS 7 as I looked at it. That's not good either.
Yeah, that whole sleep tracking thing could not be less. I mean, first of all, that feature, it's coming on. Meanwhile, I'm at 12 a.m. exporting my macOS Big Sur video because I'm trying to get that out as soon as humanly possible.
Before Greg does.
Yeah, I beat Greg by a large amount, like 12 hours. So suck it, Greg.
All right.
I mean, I've been doing that. I've got that. That's kind of my formula with Dub is getting the macOS video just like instantly.
Yeah.
I started with Mojave. I did that, and that did really well for me. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do that forever now.
Craig, stop making jokes. You just tell me the name.
It was really, really, because the thinking back in 1819 was, like, a lot of the journalists are actually at WWDC. And obviously I'm a peasant. I'm never going to go to it. So I might as well, while everyone's actually trying stuff out and having a cool and interesting life, I might as well just download it and make a video. Yeah. And then I know for Mojave, for sure, I was the first person on YouTube to actually have a video with Mojave in hand. I definitely wasn't.
They have like 8 people and 3 videographers with them, and they just knock out those videos.
I think I actually beat the Verge in 18.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I beat them by like an hour or two, and I was like, yes, I did it. I mean, it didn't matter.
You idiots prioritized iOS. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I prioritized iOS this year as well because macOS was taking too long to download, and I wanted to get started on production. Because it took like 3 hours to download Big Sur, but I still got it out day one, so I was happy with that.
Yeah, I was upset with the increased competition this year with Rene and his ilk being home. Now they were all home. Like, I'll make a video on this too.
I felt the pressure there too.
Yeah, you got like Marquez doing like, well, I'll do an iOS 14 thing.
Yeah, so last year it was wonderful because like we go back to the hotel and I was the same hotel as Marquez, and we're like, the internet does not work here, and he's like, I'm getting the last room in the other hotel with good internet. I'm like, damn it, Marquez.
Yeah.
And he's carrying his iMac under his arm as he's walking down the street.
Yeah, with the big old Pelican case.
Yeah.
Real quick, let's just scattershot these real quick. Is AirPower coming back?
When it works.
I think so.
Think so?
Never.
I think so. It's only a matter of time.
Nope. Taking the opposite approach is dead. Apple, as a company, is probably gone after this.
What if they make the notch bigger? That would be such a good troll.
That would be amazing.
That's my joke. Whenever we have John Prosser on the show, I'm just like, is the notch getting bigger? Every time we have a live stream with John, there's just someone in the chat just goes, "Is the notch getting smaller?" And
so, like for me, it's like if I have like a needle in my eye, does it matter if it's a half-length needle?
Exactly.
I don't care about the notch at all. I talked about this to Travis. It's a little bit of extra pixel real estate, and any video you put on it, if you stretch it out, it's cutting off content. So I never stretch video anyway, even on phones that kind of have like full screen displays. It's just not. I don't know.
I don't get why people stretch 16:9 to fit. Because you're cutting off the rounded corners and the notch. I'm like, what are you doing? Just watch.
That's why you got to go 2.1.
Even 2x1 though, like there's still some extra space, and it kind of like cuts off perfectly by the notch. And if you stretch it out, you're still cutting off some content.
That's fair.
You also lose top and bottom. So I don't get why people do that at all.
What you do is you stretch it all the way, then you put your thumb on the notch, and then the commenters accuse you of trying to hide the notch.
Yeah, I don't mind the notch. I don't even care if it gets smaller this year. It's such a non-issue for me. But if they can put like the camera technology behind the display, make it full screen, yeah, I'd be for that. But
here's my take on smaller notch. If you think about so we're pretty confident at this point that the screen sizes are going to be different. The 6.7 instead of 6.5 on the larger one, 2 6.1s, and then was it a 5.4 for the little baby boy? I'm excited for the baby boy.
Same here.
But here's the thing: if you make the screen larger and make the bezels smaller, then proportionatally the notch staying the same size becomes smaller. So it doesn't have to be physically
Don't you
smaller
math
to be
us, Luke.
proportionate.
I'm
So
not
it's
doing
like-
any geometry on this show.
I mean, it's just if you make the screen 0.2 inches bigger and you
Hold
don't
on.
change the
Surface
notch, then you
area
have a
times
smaller
sandwich
notch.
equals. Oh, this is so hard.
I mean, am I wrong?
If you put the notch on the iPad, the notch would be relatively smaller.
Sonny Dixon in the chat is saying notch is going to be smaller this year, and then camera under display is still a few years off. He believes. So Sonny would know. So
Well,
Sonny,
he also believes
he's using that phone.
an iMac at WWDC.
yeah,
so.
Sonny, while you're here, where's that iMac?
Yeah, what's up with that?
He has it.
Is that
He's using it right now.
Is that this week? I want that iMac. Is that going to be Intel based? Like Tim was like, we got some Intel Macs in the pipeline too. I was like, oh, come on. I
I'm
don't
glad you mentioned that. I have a theory.
Right.
This is a spoiler alert for my video tomorrow. But it's fine.
Hold on.
No one watches this anyway. This
Greg's
stupid
uploading
podcast.
his right now, so it doesn't matter.
Again.
So here's what I'm thinking. Because Ming-Chi Kuo says 23-inch iMac at the end of the year with Apple Silicon. And then he also seems to think that Q3 Intel iMac update. I think it would be unbelievably strange for us to get a redesigned iMac through a press release in the summer with Intel and then switch it to Apple Silicon a few months later in October to December. That doesn't make any sense to me. So what I propose is an internal upgrade, same design, take the hard drives and burn them. Get them out of there. SSD only, same design though. You know, RDNA graphics, sort of a logical spec bump for the existing iMac, 21.5 and 27 in like late summer. And then in October, do a redesigned 24-inch
A Mac event.
Like a back to the Mac type of event, which is what they did in 2016. And, you know, do the new MacBook Pro that we're supposed to be getting, as well as a Apple Silicon iMac. I think that would make sense. I think it would be really weird.
I mean, you'd be too happy. They've got to do something to make you miserable. So we got to refactor this whole thing.
But, like,
that is the primary goal.
I don't see any other way that it would make sense. Like, I get that they like to mess with you and be like, and make you just kind of grate your head against the wall. But like, it would be so strange to me if we were to get.
It also depends on
redesign.
They could do if there's still like a lot of the COVID problems, then that whole event thing will be weird.
I mean, I think, you know, if they did another virtual event, I thought that this WWDC was great. I wouldn't even be mad if they just continued doing some of their events virtually.
I would love every time they do one of these press releases, I would love like a 10-minute video explaining
the Craig Magic Keyboard video, right?
Yes. Do that again, please. Because that would be
Craig is so tired of being on-screen talent. He's like, I've got work to do.
Yeah. I love hearing Apple's explanation for their products. Like I like to hear what their story is behind it, and I like to hear what their focus is on it. And when they do those press releases, you can read like the press release, but it's a little bit harder when there's no like stagecraft to it because you're just reading text. It's kind of hard to find what the focus is. Sonny Dixon saying 24-inch for Intel and 27-inch for ARM, Luke. So I don't know.
Well, that's a whole new, because that's a what?
Thank you, Sonny. That was worth it. Right there. It doesn't make sense.
What is happening? I mean, I've been just trying. I sat down my video because I'm talking about the transition and the timeline and like, should you buy an Intel Mac right now? We don't, like, at any given moment, you're like, there could be another Mac tomorrow. We have no idea at any given moment. But now that's like turned up to 11 because at any given moment, there could be a new Mac that might be Intel, or there could be like an entirely new generation that we don't even know about.
Cats and dogs living together.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this crazy world. So I literally sat down, my take for my video, it's a 13-minute video, but it was a 51-minute take because I was just like trying
I'm just
trying
screen
to.
capturing Travis looking at Greg like this. I need this for posterity. Oh, he turned back.
Oh man.
You were just staring at Greg for so long, like he did something so bad.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm actually looking the opposite direction, but it turns out that when I look this direction, it's looking at him. It's weird. It's the opposite of what's happening.
Cameras.
Real say sorry, Greg, and move on.
I know you guys want to rant, and that's fine, but I need to get through some of these questions real quick. Yes, no, maybe so. Can we expect an iPad Mini Pro? Bars.
Ish. There's no tiny keyboard.
I mean, what really makes it a pro? The design language?
Yeah.
I think so. Let's see. Okay, hold on.
And USB-C port. I'm going to stake my claim on the USB-C
You'll get
port.
reduced bezels, iPad Mini probably, but they're not going to call it iPad Mini
Ish, pro-ish.
Yeah, pro.
Chose if you had the chance and why?
Garg.
I wouldn't cancel any of them. I love this show. It would be hurting myself.
Oh, thank you.
Cutest thing ever.
This is why we don't invite you anymore.
Okay. All right. I think that's
Well, I like Nicholas's last comment. He says, "Is Johnny Ive coming back? Stay tuned."
I mean,
He's super busy right
his
now.
whole
They're gonna-
the next he started. What the heck is up with that?
The next Apple event, they're just gonna have like a white sheet and then they take it off, and there's gonna be Johnny sitting there, like
We have Johnny Sarugi now. They've switched Johnny priorities.
Yeah, they've reached their Johnny capacity, and they needed to shed a Johnny so that they could be on track.
Why has FTP? FTP because everyone is using Samba shares now. Nobody's bothering to use FTP anymore.
why do they call it Imac when it doesn't run iOS? They ditched iBook. Why have they maintained the name?
iMac existed before iOS. So
iMac is the
Internet
first
Mac.
Mac anything.
yeah. It stands for Internet, I think. And then
Yeah.
Internet Mac, and it's
That's
too
why
big
the
a brand.
iPod
So
is
why don't they
ironic.
call it an Apple phone? Because it's too big a brand.
one of my fondest memories is going to the computer store with my dad and getting that original 1998 iMac, taking it home, unboxing it, plugging it in, just like Steve said, putting in the internet cable, spending
You felt like Jeff Goldblum, didn't you?
spending the rest of the night, the first time on the World Wide Web, getting a pop-up saying we won like $10,000, and we thought we won $10,000.
Sonny Dixon is saying Johnny I was making an Android phone. I don't know if you saw it, but I think it was Steve Trottensmith or somebody tweeted a picture of when they showed Scott Forstall the hacked Android running on the iPhone, and he just said, "I hate it." And that's sort of what Johnny is. Johnny would like if you served him really bad smelling fruit, like food, that would be the reaction. He's Johnny.
Yikes. All right, everyone. That was, I mean, listen, that Aftercast was about as good as a darn podcast. Good goobly goo.
Put it out. Put it out.
Yeah, we should have recorded that and put that out instead.
Yeah. We
We
should
could do like a bonus thing at the end of the show. I stopped recording, but we have the StreamYard. We could put like
but at the same point, that's why you come to the live stream, baby. You should.
Yeah.
That's
Should have
That's
been here.
true.
Should ask somebody.
what we tell them. That's
our
what
audio listeners like to complain that we prioritize the live stream, and they don't like that,
But
Travis.
they should just be here.
exactly.
They should.
Like, they can solve that problem.
It's very easy. We're here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We convinced you guys to come.
Like we're all gonna watch like the Disney Channel when they show Hamilton, but like it's not like, oh, it was better live. Well, you should have gone live.
Hey, look. Have
This
you
is
ever,
like Hamilton.
Viper, don't come in here posting fires in the chat. We know you're doing another podcast when you should have been.
oh, but fair. Have you ever watched any of Luke's videos there, Lukey Miami?
Have I ever watched any of my videos?
Vipers.
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
You
I've
should
seen
be,
his videos.
you see how many people he's had on his podcast lately? I had Justine on the other night, and
Yeah,
You can't even get a spot. It's like that trendy restaurant in Manhattan. You cannot get a spot on the Viper podcast anymore.
Yeah, Gerald Undone on the other day. I love Gerald Undone. He's so cool.
There's like a 3-month waiting list now.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm always down for podcasts. I haven't really done much live streaming before a couple months ago, but we're in the Rona time, so I'm like, yeah, heck yeah, get me on anything, I'll do it.
I try to get
Viper's like, we'll try to squeeze you in. We have Greg on standby for Friday. But we'll try to squeeze you in.
I'd love to.
see how we help out. We help out our homie Viper over there. He's doing it big over there, so we helping him out.
Yeah, I take 100% success for getting iJustine on the show. By the way, Viper. I mean, I think I started that movement, so you're welcome.
She said she came on in spite of you, Greg.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I did that.
we asked her a question, and she doesn't know who I am, so I guess.
I tweeted. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Fortunate. Yeah, I did see that clip. It was very funny.
Did you see the Luke? I don't think we're on the show then. Did you see the Marquez clip?
Oh my gosh.
No.
Oh,
We'll have to retweet that to you. That's fun.
Yeah, I want to see that. Did he talk about you?
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing where I like to, for people in the aftercast, I do like to ham it up for the show a little bit, and we're making like a fake feud with MKBHD, and then MKBHD based. Okay, hold on, let me explain this.
you have the clip, right? Don't you have the clip that you made?
Look, we have the whole beauty YouTube drama. Do we really need this tonight?
No. I love Marquez, like literally fake controversy. But no, he thumbnail of mine. You go into Google Images, you find images, you use them in your video, right? So, but he ended up using an image I made for my thumbnail, and I was like, Marquez, you used my thumbnail. How could you? And then Viper basically asked him on the show, like, oh, do you know who Greg is? And you used his thumbnail, and he's like, who?
Well, Viper had your back though. I mean, he brought it to Marquez. He's like, you used Greg's thumbnail in your show.
He did. He did, and I.
Explain yourself, young man. And Marquez is like, I'm gonna pretend like I don't know Greg.
I mean, most people do know Greg, but it's not a positive thing.
They're positive they know Greg?
No, I'm sure that they do know him. They just don't. They just wish that they didn't, if that makes any sense. I certainly wish that I didn't know Greg.
Does Travis feel seen?
Listen, I'm fine. I have nothing to worry about. I'm dodging these cancel bullets as much as I can.
Travis, you look handsome today.
Thank you, sir. I got my ZV-1 brand new camera on beauty mode, baby, and medium.
Nice.
Look how smooth this skin looks.
You look young.
You had 300 fights. You're still pretty as a girl.
That's right, baby. Let's go. All right, that should be enough, right? Does that sound like enough?
We contented.
Yeah,
we showed up. And we content.
We have done content.
Yeah, get me out of this hell. I gotta get out.
Content.
He's got to go make some more beef with bigger YouTubers that don't know what he is.
Yeah, you have to get a s'mores frap. Is that what's happening here?
No, not all the ones around me are closed. Even though I'm the only one on the West Coast, so essentially it's only 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock for me. It's like late for you guys.
Oh, Nicholas says cancel Rene and Travis. So there you go, Rene. Now we got someone trying to cancel you.
How dare you?
Cancel proof. Cancel proof, son.
Put up with that. Someone kick him out. No, I'm just kidding.
No, don't. That guy's cool. We kicked him out the one time by accident.
Yeah, we did.
We had a mod. We were just joking around. We go kick him out, and the mod just like kicks him out. We're like, no, we're just kidding. Don't
kidding. We didn't mean that. We don't really have any. We don't really have any like trolls here. We have really great supportive
fans. They made intros for us. I got to go through all these.
They're awesome.
On Sunday, beginning of the show is going through all these intros. If you want to send more musical intros, now's your chance.
Yeah.
I had a troll the other day on my podcast that made me laugh, or not my. I don't have a podcast on my stream.
Podcast? What?
I've been toying around with making one, but everyone has a podcast. I don't know. But I did have a troll on a stream the other day that was because I had turned on slow chat because the chat was getting a little bit spammy, and this guy literally every 30 seconds was just typing, "Look, Miani scams people every day."
Why haven't you called me?
Okay, he scams people every day, guys. He's doing it right now, and it was just like copy paste. And every 30 seconds, everyone in the chat was like, "What? What are you talking about?" It was actually very funny. I kind of just let it go to watch everyone dump on him.
I love that scene in Avengers when El Jefe threw Captain America the small hammer and took back the big one. No, you have the little one.
El Jefe's the man, dude. That's the dude right there. Yeah, so maybe we'll see Luke on a Viper stream. So that'd be kind of fun. That'd be fun times.
Talk to me first, Viper, and then
Now that we've done that, Viper needs to send us somebody. Viper, send over your.
Send us iJustine. We're helping you out. Why don't you?
Viper's Rolodex is legit, man.
Yeah, Viper, send iJustine our way. Hit her DMs and go. GadgetCast, actually, really cool show. You should be on. And then after that, we'll take. If you want to get us, Travis, who's like a big person we should get.
Well,
if you want to get us like The Rock or something.
Maybe it'll get The Rock. That'd be
Hey,
if you guys get iJustine, I want to tag along. I want to come along for the ride.
So
I actually want to be on the show.
Of course you do. So Rene, you thought we were joking earlier. This is true story. When we talked about doing this, and he heard that you were going to be on, he was like a little schoolgirl. It was awesome. He loved it. So Luke, say what you want to say to Rene. It doesn't matter. Be embarrassing. Tell him how awesome.
I was going to say cancel Rene. This is all pre-set up. I understand how this works.
Hey, I've never said I am only a retaliatory canceller because Greg started it. I have no ill will against anyone until they come at me. But no, yeah, I mean, Rene, I've been watching your stuff since 2018 when you just like popped off when you started making your content, and you always had like really great analysis, really well written stuff. It was always really impressive and inspirational because at that time, I was around 30K. You obviously just went right past me in about 2 weeks, and I was always like, all right, one day I want to do that basically.
Oh, it's very kind of you. I've been watching I was so late to YouTube. I just been watching all of your channels the whole time, and I feel like I know you all from watching all your YouTube channels. And you're like, I get the thing, like, who are you? I'm like, I wrote words on paper. Remember paper? And they're like, what?
Yeah, sorry, paper. We don't do that here. Get out of here with paper.
Believe it or not, I've read Rene's stuff for a long time. Believe it or not,
yeah, me too. Since like years ago.
And I've caught him on like podcasts and stuff before too. So to have him on my podcast, I think it's pretty cool. I love Rene.
Thank you.
I actually didn't know this. I'll give my story. I didn't know who Rene was until at first. Now I've known for a long time now, but I didn't know until Viper had started talking about you, and then John Prosser, because I was friends with John at the time, was like, "Dude, Rene's legit." I'm like, "Oh." So now I had two people who I respect their opinions on. So I was like, "Okay, let me check this out." And then I remember watching a Rene video, and I'm like, "Dude's too good. I don't like this."
No, they just meant old. That's all they mean by legit. Like old.
No,
like, he ain't left. He ain't left yet.
Hey, to be fair to Luke, that's the insult I lobbied at Luke. I said his content was too good and I don't like watching it because I don't like my content. I look at Luke's content, I'm like, this guy's so good. I just want to quit. So I don't see how that's an insult, by the way. I think that's just a compliment.
It is.
And Scott S says, cancel Greg and Travis. Renee and Luke are the new host of the podcast. So take it away, guys.
You accidentally staged your own coup.
Definitely.
Oh gosh.
What are we just supposed to yell like, you know where to find me, so come back for more? Is that what we do?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
No, that's the wrong show. Damn it.
We don't have an outro on this show. Okay.
Another Mac break is in the can. No, wait. If it was a talk show, it would just end. I don't know how to.
We need to come up with a good sign off. Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
The
Travis,
gadgets
out!
have been casted.
We've been gadget casted. We'll see you next time. Peace and love.